felt so guilty. I felt like a horrible mom, And then when you go on social media and you see all those moms happily sharing about their home learning style,
All fake one.
learn how to talk very fast, do all these things. I'm just like,
All
I'm a
fake one.
terrible mom. I've not done that for my kids.
All fake one.
It's
Okay.
It's okay lah, still young lah.
Selective. Okay, welcome back to another episode of Wise and Shine. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut.
And I'm Dawn, SG Budget. Today we're covering a really interesting topic.
Together with a very interesting person.
Glad you think so.
So on set with us, we have...
Hi, this is Louis Chua here. I'm the MP for Sengkang GRC.
Hey Luis, you're very not natural. No need to be like...
I thought like game show like
Yeah,
that.
don't game show. It's okay, just be yourself. But yes. But today's topic is I think very catered to where you are representing, and at the same time, I think a lot of the people in our age bracket, 30s, right? It's all in this situation, right? So Don, you want to introduce the topic since you are
of course, throw to me, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
This is
today
your topic. Wow.
We're going to discuss the topic of working mom / dad guilt. How do you deal with pursuing your career or other pursuits, your interests, your passions, your hobbies, while still raising your kid and not beating yourself up for it? And I think it becomes very real in today's time-pressed, hectic society. To the extent where we see a lot of parents actually give up their careers entirely or take a break just so that they can spend time with their kids who are growing up too quickly. But for those who don't, that guilt really eats them up inside.
I know, I can feel it. Although I'm not a parent, but I recently, a lot of my friends are entering the parent stage, and I'm talking to a lot of people.
And abandoning you, right?
Yeah. So I was like, oh my god, you're so pressured, right? So
how to deal?
Yeah, how to deal with the mom and dad guilt, right? But I think the basis is also the idea that in Singapore, right, it's very hard to find single income family anymore, right? It's like everybody has to work, so there's no more like tag team, and if today you can have a single parent household, quite cao like single income kind of household, you're quite cao. That means the income quite solid, right? So all that jazz in today's episode, right? So do you feel that guilt?
I think happens far more often than I hope it hope for me lah. But yeah,
can you describe how does it feel for you?
I guess it's something that like a lot of working parents will feel. I think not just MPs. So I think the added pressure for me also is that on top of sometimes you see that especially during weekends where it's typically family time or at night where after a long day at work, then you want to go home, have your dinner, spend some time with your kids. I mean for me myself especially, sometimes you do have to go for your meet the people session during the weekday nights, weekends. Sometimes you got to go for some activities and some events, and basically it kind of eats away at family time, which is already not a lot because in the day, I mean the kids are in school, childcare and all that, right? So at least you can be focused on whatever you need to do, but the whatever precious little hours when they're awake, you do want to try to spend as much time as you can with them. But of course, work is one thing. For myself, of course, there's the political side of things, taking care of my constituents, grassroots, that's another thing. And I think for a lot of parents, you also need to take care of yourself, your own mental health, and just make sure that you don't just become a slave at work and at home, but you also look after yourself. So I think all of these things kind of added together kind of add to a lot of pressure, to the extent that I think sometimes when I do know of friends who when they're watching a movie, they keep watching the CCTV just make sure the kids okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, I also one of them.
You also do that? Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, but can you give me like one personal anecdote, right, that made you actually feel like, oh, this is like me feeling guilty, like a personal anecdote? Because it's already a given you're busy, ma. Right? So you got full-time job MP. Everything is I think all the MPs work damn hard.
Yeah. I mean, not just MPs, but any working Singaporean will probably feel the same way. And I think the oftentimes, you know, how we like to take photos and videos of our kids, right? I'm sure your phone has videos of our kids all the time. Then my wife will send me like a video of my son, because the older one is almost 4 now, so he can talk a lot, very talkative. So then when it's bedtime in his pajamas, then she'll send me a video of him. Oh, Papa, I love you. Good night. And I'm not there to, you know, put him to bed.
I feel a lot also. Recently, my kid had an excursion. So the last time he had an excursion, I think maybe it was early last month or something, one of the mummies of his classmates actually went along. So he said, Mommy, how come you never go? So this time he had an excursion. They said, Mommy, you must come. You know, I think my friend's mommy coming also. So at first I thought it wouldn't happen because the teacher said, no adults. The friend's mommy actually did turn up. Yeah. So like she brought the kid's elder brother to the excursion. Then we bumped into you. But I mean, we all know, right? So my kid, no lah. I think it's a good opportunity. Actually, I wanted to do that also. I was actually thinking,
wow,
No, I was actually thinking because Titi never go before, so it's a good opportunity to bring Titi, and then we family outing. Then
accidentally,
so chiao, you know, and then just
if I was the teacher leading the excursion, I think my eye will roll until like wow, like so chiao, wow.
So I wanted to do that, and it made it worse that he was asking me, right? But in the end, I couldn't because of work. And I felt very guilty. And then also I think like what you said, the time is so limited. So typically as a working mom, I only have the evenings when he come back, as well as the weekend. But sometimes weekends are hectic because, you know, you have enrichment. My kid only go for one enrichment, that's it, one only. But already hectic enough. Then sometimes there's like, you know, friends or other kids' birthday parties that you have to go for, and basically some social stuff here and there or an event. So something will happen. Sometimes it's inevitable, work pops up, cannot complete during the weekday because they were sick, they stayed home, so I couldn't get it done. I had to carry over on a weekend to complete it as well. So the time very limited. And I feel it a lot, especially when he's not on top of things. You know, like for example, his enrichment, every week got one very thin booklet to complete as homework. Okay, so it's like just activities and have to do together. He's not capable because he's not at the age of being able to do it himself. And then when I'm busy or when I'm sick, it just doesn't get done. So I feel the guilt. Like a few days ago, I opened like 3 weeks worth, never submit. And I felt so guilty. I felt like a horrible mom, you know. And then when you go on social media and you see all those moms happily sharing about their home learning style, learn how to talk very fast, do all these things, I'm just like, I'm a terrible mom. I've not done that for my kids. So it really adds to that guilt that you feel inside, you know.
All fake one. It's all the momtrepreneur,
not fake
momfluencer.
It's real. It's just one snippet only.
Okay.
It's okay lah, still young lah.
Selective, right? Okay, but then how do you then manage that guilt? So there's 2 paradigms, right? One is you managing your own emotional guilt, right? How do you kind of like work through that guilt such that it does not affect you in other ways, right? That's one. And then the other one is of course how do you then manage your time such that you can actually spend more time with the kid, right? I think those two are very interesting questions to a lot of young parents.
I think I'm trying. I don't have a perfect answer, honestly.
It's okay, we're not here for perfect answers.
No one's perfect.
Yeah, but I think
不要这样 cheesy. No one's perfect. It's like saying the sky is blue. But I want to hear your personal anecdotes.
I've adjusted lah. So in the past, like I guess some of my older readers might remember, Budget Babe started out as an executive who teach a lot of tuition. At my highest point, 9 kids at one time, all A-level graduating batch, so very high stress. Right, and I individual mark compo 1. You submit 3 compo, I mark 3. So it's based on how my no limit, right? So what I did was after, and I kept that up all the way actually, until my kid could talk. Then he started being disruptive to the lessons. So I went from going to my kids' houses, a lot of travel time, to they coming over because I used my pregnancy, I can't really travel, right? And dangerous. I had a fall on my first pregnancy at 25 weeks. So I almost lost the kid. So very dangerous. Then my husband said, cannot, you make them come to your house. So okay, so that shifted. So they came to my house, which was all good until my kid started to learn how to run and disturb, then no good already because they come to my house but not conducive, so I felt bad. So I slowly cut down until I think was it last year or 1.5 years ago, I finally let go of after my last graduating student finished the A-level. I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to close and stop doing all my GP tuition. So with that, I got back my weekends. But what I did not foresee, because back then enrichment. After that, add in enrichment, and then the birthday parties start coming. No one told me when you become a parent that there will be so many kids' birthday parties to care for. Seriously!
Don't go for all lah. Don't go for all.
We don't go for all, but there's a lot. There's still a lot, So yeah, so that really piled up. So I really don't know. I think right now I just try to, if I can on weekday evenings, I try to do as much as I can, try to squeeze and get a bit of his homework done. I put him to bed almost every night, so that's our bonding time. And I try to have quality conversations. And then on weekends, I try as much as possible to spend time with him. But if I really cannot because I have work or something else, then like what you asked the first question, right? How do I manage that group? I just try to just let it go. Yeah, but social media is a double-edged sword. Because on one end, you see posts that validate those feelings. You're entitled to still live your life. Your mental health as a mom is still important. You must prioritize before you can take care of your kid. On the other hand, you have other posts that tell you your kids are only young ones. They're growing up so fast. You will miss this. So it's a constant dilemma, It's like what message I see really affects my mood and my guilt. Seriously, do you feel that? Or you don't even scroll social media much?
Guy got no time for social media.
I mean, to me, it's also like, if you sit on an airplane, there's a safety video, right? Then they always tell you, in the case of emergency, then the thing will come out. Then you have to wear the mask first, then you can wear for your kid, right? So I think it's also the same thing. Eventually, of course, to be able to take care of your kids, you need to take care of yourself first. So you need to wear the mask first, then you can wear for him. So same thing. I mean, you of course, you feel mom guilt, dad guilt. And of course, you wish that you had more time in the world, but everyone's given the same 24 hours and you make the most out of it and don't beat yourself because of that.
Yes. I think the guilt comes from 3 sources. One is like ourselves. We want, but we don't get to do all of it. Then the second one is what society or your peers are doing. We tend to compare, very natural, right? So if everyone around you is a workaholic, then you won't feel that guilt because everyone together is like a weekend parent.
They all like high.
Yeah,
together,
and it's normal.
Yeah.
But it's when like everyone's a stay-home mom and you're the only weekend parent, then you feel that guilt because you're not the majority, you're not the norm. But at the third place that the guilt comes from is the kid. I didn't feel this until recently because my kid learned how to talk at a bit late at 3+, almost 4, and then he started saying, "Mommy, let's spend time with me."
Wow, that's very advanced.
That's an ulti method.
But then sometimes very pek-chek because he will still say that, and I'm like, "What do you mean I didn't spend time with you? Didn't I just spend the last 3 hours with you? Why is 3 hours not
Never enough.
I know, right? Yeah, so the guilt comes in that way, but I think the hard question to answer is how much is enough? And then is it really viable? I see my friends overseas in the US because that's where I used to study. So I have a lot of friends there, right? And how they run their family is actually on a lot of them on single income. So the husband will go out to work and the wife, the mom, is a stay-home mom raising the kids. Yeah, and very on top of things on the home learning, the office forever very impeccable. The household sometimes messy, sometimes not. But on social media you only see the clean part. Yeah, so it's like they tend to.
I think all social media fault.
All social media fault.
But in here in Singapore and Asia where it's so hectic, we don't really see.
Do you feel like it is a personal choice not to revert to a single income family here in Singapore, or is it like a inevitable, no choice? That's why you have to do double income.
I mean, at the end of the day, to me, I mean, I had a recent conversation with somebody about this also, like be it the to think about like what house to buy and what kind of life you want for your kids and all that. I think there is always a choice, but the question then is what are the trade-offs to the choice that you make? pandemic, right? So something which a report which I found very interesting from, I think maybe 2 years ago, it was published during COVID, but maybe they did a study before COVID. I never read the fine print. I think this was published in 2021. I think it was NTU and Lee Kuan Yew's School of Public Policy. They were basically saying that for a family of 4, you need like $6,400 a month in order to be able to sustain a basic, I can't remember what was the term.
The basic household income.
Yeah, to sustain a family of 4, like, 2 parents, 2 kids, 6,004.
Yeah.
And mathematically, if we think about it, I think the median wage for somebody is like, I think $5,000 plus minus
about, 5 plus.
around there. So mathematically, if both of these things are true, then cannot be single income. Especially if you think about like median wage, it will be probably when you are already working for a certain number of years. But naturally, if you are fairly early on in your career, you wouldn't earn as much as you would maybe when you're at the prime of a career. So then I think that adds to the kind of pressures as to being able to provide for what a family needs to a certain extent.
Go and be AI prom. I saw the article about $400,000, right? Oh my goodness.
It's very hard to be a prom
Goldman
engineer.
Sachs, right? Wow.
It's very hard to be a
digits
prom engineer.
right from the start. Okay, Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
600.
Goldman Sachs.
Digit all the way, right?
Goldman Sachs, you can hire me if you don't mind right? I'm a bit more entertaining than your analyst.
Then you
We
can,
tag them,
And so
then you
yeah,
can do
we
the-
tag Goldman.
both things are true and yet single income.
So then, if someone decides to kind of transit into like a single income type of situation, right? Like what would you think are some sacrifices that they inherently have to make, and that you are okay with it?
I mean, of course, if you're talking about that person who is, making 400
No, we don't care about the Goldman one. That one,
like,
if they listen, very good, welcome.
I don't know how many kids does Elon Musk has.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, if you're him, there's a separate issue.
Yeah.
But again, it's a matter of choice and trade-offs is what you want. And I think the other matter is that if you just pause for a moment and think of single income, the first thing you think of, okay, father working, mother stay at home. And I mean, I'm all for gender equality and all that. And so I don't think it is necessarily a bad thing for you to be single income, dual income. It is a choice for the families to make. It could be that it could be a house husband and then mother goes out to be the ones working. I think all these things is up to the individual household to decide for themselves. But the question then whether or not we will be able to kind of make the trade-off less difficult to the extent that, look, if, for example, I think COVID was a very good sort of time for experiment, whereby, you see, if you had the lockdown situation, both parents working at home, then you can be both working, but both also stay at home, can play the family duties. After your Zoom call, you go and change diapers. Then after you change diapers, you go and do your report. Then after you go and cook dinner. So then there isn't necessarily that trade-off of, okay, single income, dual income. You can, in a way, sort of have your cake and eat it as long as people are flexible, workplaces are flexible enough with it.
So you also support the flexible work arrangement?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if not for the whole COVID experience, I wouldn't have been able to see my 2 boys grow up.
Yeah, I agree. I was almost same age. We were really like a beneficiary of the lockdowns,
and
right?
like,
Because we got to see them.
I can't imagine how it was like in the past, especially, paternity leave was only like 2 weeks, right? Then after that, okay.
But now equalized already, right?
Now
So-
more lah.
It's-
Wait, I have a very important
Okay,
question.
important question.
Not like your important
Okay.
His important question last
Not
year
the
episode is
important
all
one.
name one.
So-
What's the story of your name? Why not important?
Hey, I'm trying a different style lah. Because
Okay,
I'm too serious,
but mine
okay?
really
Yes.
important.
Okay.
From like a national lens perspective.
Elevated,
Big question,
Yes,
big
yes,
question.
big
Here, so
question.
must
Yes.
ask big one.
Yes.
Don't
This one
ask-
very important.
Don't just
Yes,
ask
yes.
personal.
Yes,
okay?
let's go.
If more parents, be it stay-home mothers or fathers, okay, if more people start to adopt this one parent come and stop work temporarily, take care of the kid during the formative years, at maybe until like lower primary or what. How do you think that will impact the Singapore economic ecosystem, the culture? What kind of repercussions might there be?
I think the
And are you in favor of it?
I think the more important thing to me is, regardless of what it is, you need to have flexibility in the system. So I think whether it's work from home, or whether it's allowing people to take some time off from work, take a sabbatical, or even a long-term leave of absence from work to look after your kids, whether it's when, because let's say maternity now is 4 months, right? Let's say you want to look after the kid until it's 1 year old, you need to be able to have that flexibility of doing it while not compromising on, let's say, your own career progression.
We extend, we see like the people want to take care for the kids all the way through toddler years. Then what would be the repercussion?
So if I think about it, if you have a person who is like super distracted all the time, maybe like not very productive, half the time you're thinking about, oh shit, what's my child doing? And then actually you sneak off to the pantry to go and look at the CCTV. Then versus you have somebody who's like completely focused at work and I get things done within the same period of time. Then the productivity increases can arguably even offset some of these time away to look after your family, right?
But do you think it'll be good for Singapore? Because there's this argument, there's this push and pull factor, right? On one hand, we want to promote the family, increase birth rates, strengthen family ties, connection, rooted to country, nationalism and all that stuff that comes and start from the family. But on the other hand, you're also talking about things like productivity, like earning more wages, contributing to society. These two things don't always exist together in tandem for everyone.
Fair point.
So if it started to move more towards the family in this sense, whereby let's say the dual income model start to shift back to the single income, do you think it's good for Singapore in the long run? Or maybe not permanently shift back, but a temporary shift. Let's say we could overcome the problem of getting the stay-home parents back into the workforce in an easier way so they can reintegrate faster than what the current situation is. Do you think it's actually beneficial for Singapore to have like half of the parent population go off, raise the kids, help them through all these formative years, then come back?
Yeah, in fact, I wouldn't even say it's a temporary thing, even if it's a permanent thing. If you look at what is our biggest issue that we're facing in Singapore today, I mean, what are we pursuing economic growth for? That 3, 4, 5% GDP growth at what cost, right? And if you look at the biggest issue that we have not been able to address, and to be fair, quite a few countries have also not been able to address, is your total fertility rate issue. I think it's like an all-time low now.
So not climate change,
well,
we are below reproduction levels already, okay?
Well, this is existential in a different way.
Existential risk.
I know climate change is too, but this is talking about being able to replace your fellow Singaporeans.
We are 1 point something already, not even 2 point something.
It's true. I agree.
So I mean, if you don't actually take take active steps to kind of change our kind of mindsets, whether it's like a worker's mindset or an employer's mindset, then you can't expect people to suddenly, hey, I want to have more kids.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying Wise and Shine so far. I'm your host Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut, and for us to continue to do this show so that you become a tad bit wiser every week, you gotta like, share, subscribe, help us beat the algorithm, but even more importantly, if you can, comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts and also some questions that you would love us to answer. Yep, now back to the show.
What can be done to help reduce this guilt aside from flexible workforces? Are there any policies?
No, actually, the policy is one.
Yeah.
It's definitely
what
some
policies can be instituted?
Do you have a policy that you're championing to try to solve this thing? This complex work kind of like TFR.
Make the guilty feel less guilty.
Make the parents feel less guilty. Do you have something?
So I think it's really flexibility. I think that's the most important.
So you believe that workplace flexibility will kind of allow for the person to kind of manage through these things?
But can that be institutionalized though?
Yeah, I think that is where regulation and government policy have to come into play, because as it is right now, I don't know about you guys, but during COVID, we all had that 50% must work from home, 75% must work from home, and all of a sudden when all these things are removed, so for the last few years, work still gets done. Maybe not so, you have to figure out how to remotely log in and all that kind of thing lah. But, you have a situation whereby you can even have 25% of people in the office, everyone else from home. And then now, if you look at Raffles Place, Shenton Way, or that Marina Bay, like, so crowded.
Yeah, all come
Then
back
you
already.
ask your friends, so are you working from home? Oh no, 5 days in office, 4 days in office, but the last day we got meetings, so I need to go to work anyway. And all of a sudden, a lot of all these changes are very quickly unwinding. And I find that to be very concerning, because whatever gains that we had in terms of flexible work, giving people the space to look after their family and pursue their career at the same time, suddenly is all disappearing very quickly. So that's quite worrying lah.
I have two things on policy I wanted to say. Like, the first one is, do you think it's even possible for the government to potentially institutionalize something like, okay, if you're a Singapore employer, you must give your employee the right to 1 to 2 days minimum flexible work arrangement if the job scope allows for it. Do you think something like that can actually be
Because
implemented?
actually, I think your colleagues on the other side of the aisle also pushing for flexible work hours, right?
But it's not a policy now.
yeah,
that's
I
the
mean both
problem.
sides.
So it's being
it's
left
all
for corporate policy.
so you push
Can we
it's an
together.
advisory type of
Yeah.
situation.
Can we have-
Hopefully, you can do it.
Government say,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
everyone listen.
Do you
and
think there's an
obey.
intervention that we can push for?
I think it's definitely been done in other countries, and I do recognize that there are some jobs where the ability to work from home is a bit less lah.
Yes.
So the most important thing is to mandate or legislate the need to put in place workplace flexibility. I think flexibility is the key word lah. Not necessarily work from home, because you cannot force the bank teller to work from home
Some
lah.
people also need to be in office to feel more productive.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I think to each his own. And I think even back when I was in uni, I think I was quite lucky to be able to go on one of these study missions lah. I was from SMU, so they got a lot of all these things. So I did one of such study missions to Scandinavia, and that was, when was that? I graduated. Yeah, so around 2010 that time, even before all of these things got so-called fashionable, right? That work from home was even a thing. When we went there, we spoke to some of these companies and said, people come to work at like 10 a.m. and then they leave at 4 p.m. Can So, and that's
yeah,
really because
in Europe it's quite okay.
yeah, and that's because they have to send their kids to school and pick them up from school. But the caveat is that after dinner they get back to work lah. So then but they clarify that you don't just work from 10 to 4 lah. After dinner time, you still continue to do what you need to do. Just that there's that flexibility to kind of balance competing demands of your time at the same time.
Yeah. At TFC also can. Yeah, the whole team is remote. 5-6 of us. Everybody just
Yeah, you
remote.
promote every
So yes,
episode,
of
you
course.
can.
Because
You can.
no,
Star
because
employer.
Thank you. Must give me a water. Okay, but no,
5 stars only.
yeah, 5 stars. But I feel like exactly like what Louis was saying, right? Like immediately after we built infrastructure for 2 years plus, right, for remote working and to optimize the remote working experience for a lot of Singaporeans, right? Immediately
Collapse.
everything come back, and then
bo liao.
the whole thing suddenly collapsed, and then it's as if the whole thing didn't happen. Then we don't
It's
learn.
just a dream.
Yeah, it's just a dream, as if nothing happened, and all the talk about productivity suddenly come back in, and it gets
Yeah, the
it
narrative
gets-
keeps shifting,
yeah, and then,
right?
and then it gets hijacked with like coming back to the office means more productive, which fundamentally from a personal experiential point of view, it's not the case.
Which is
right?
why government should push for this
Yeah.
policy. Okay, but the second one I want to touch on, so I must push this. I raised it to Lawrence Wong also. No answer.
Okay. So you must have an answer.
It's I think you can
she
relate
tee you
more.
up the
No, you
thing.
know why? Because you don't have young kids like us. So we probably feel the pain more because young kids no immunity, right? Go childcare, all the virus
yeah.
hit. And I said this, 6 days childcare leave really not enough. Because you want kid, 6 days is already 6 days childcare closure, right?
Just the
And then when
childcare
you
closure.
The childcare is already closed 6 days of the year. So technically, let's assume you have multiple kids, okay? And you put them in the same childcare so you can make sure it's the same 6 days. But you haven't even count the fact that your kid falls sick. Now MC is not 1 or 2 days. The doctor straight away give 4-5 days. It's very difficult where to get the extra leave from. It comes from the unpaid leave or annual leave, right? Some people just don't have that many. And honestly, right, let's say if I look at the average scenario, the average person has anywhere between 12 to 18 days of leave. correct? If you're not super senior, serve long term, so you got loyalty award that don't have like, okay, the
No
average
matter what.
person,
Yes.
12 to 18. Then you plus on top of that 6 days. But in
Hmm.
reality, your child toddler go to childcare. How many parents agree your kid is sick more than 20 days a year? Right.
Hmm.
Right.
Especially when they first enter childcare or infant
Correct.
care
The
and
first
all
few
that.
years,
First
right?
exposure to all the viruses.
Yeah,
and
you know
everything,
my,
right?
my
sharing.
youngest just entered this year, right? So he's turning to 1+, we enroll him. After the 18 months, we enroll him.
Hmm.
It got to a point whereby there was this 1 month he almost never go. Then the teacher called me and said, hey, you need to send him to school because the month is almost ending. If you don't even clock the 1 day, then the ECDA subsidy no more.
Oh.
Like, oh, has he missed that many days of school? He's sick so long. Sorry. Okay, I'll put back. I said, what if he still got leaky nose?
Yeah.
Don't care, just put back. Okay.
You're a very responsible parent. I mean, that's the other issue, right? Sometimes, like, because of work demands and all that, all these parents just send their kids to childcare anyway. Then in the end, everybody falls sick, they all backfire.
Correct. Especially if I guess like they're in certain roles like healthcare or where they cannot take the time off and they don't have a helper, no grandparents, extra support. No choice, you have to put the kid there. So it keeps spreading and spreading and spreading.
Yeah.
So are you gonna
6 days
champion
not enough.
more?
Yeah, why we cannot have more childcare leave during the toddler years?
Is
Then less
that gonna
during
be on your platform?
rest.
Actually, I've raised that before, as with I think some of my other colleagues, and to be fair, like some of the folks over on the ruling party side as well. So it's whether you have 1 kid or whether you're super productive, you have 4 or 5 kids.
Productive. This one also considered productive,
be
right?
taxed,
National
right?
Productivity
So,
Index
you
must
got one
include
kid,
childbirth.
take more
Also
kids
6 days,
Yeah,
wow.
should take more kids. You have contribute to Singapore population, you get more leave.
Yeah, you want to encourage more people to give birth, right? Yeah. So if you have 1 kid or 6 kids, you still get 6 days. That the math don't work out lah.
Yeah, cannot. Not enough one.
Hmm.
Okay.
It's a good. But do you think it might work if, let's say, the policies was tweaked to maybe number 1, more kids, more leave. Then on another way is during the formative low immunity years, give more.
I think,
Then later on, take back.
I think as it is, the childcare leave is only until you're like 7 years old or something like that. I can't remember what the age is. So the more important thing is that I think it should be on a per child basis, because it doesn't really make any sense that if you have 1 kid, it's 6 days, 5 kids also 6 days.
Yeah.
So I think that's something important to take note of. And the other more important thing, which is our earlier point about flexibility. I mean, if that is in place, then actually I would rather that if you have the flexible point, then have this per child thing, because ultimately if you have a super rigid employer that you're late by 5 minutes, okay, you're going to deduct your annual leave, that's not going to work out also.
And if you have 5 kids, then I employ you, each kid got 6 days. Walao, that is like 1 month gone, don't need come so kang, right? Like, I mean, those are realities
Or
also,
maybe
right?
there's another
in that
way,
sense.
which is, the kids MC should be accepted as your MC also.
Well,
I
that's
don't
an
know
interesting
about others,
idea.
but I mean, for me, for example, I have a set number. I think my max is 30 days MC. But of course, nobody takes that much. Most of us as adults, we don't end up taking that much. Because the flu, we recover faster. We're a bit
in a few
stronger.
days you're sorted.
Yeah, a few days done really. So I think on average, my yearly MCs, I hardly even touch 10 days.
Yeah, that's
So I'm
interesting.
quite healthy. If, let's say, I was in a position where if the government could help and make it such that your kids fall sick, the MC can also be claimed for MC. I think there would be less stress on the parents also. Maybe you don't give 30 days 5 kids, then one whole month gone.
Kampung say
Don't make
like that,
sense,
just
right?
give birth.
Then if it's a Gomez tech analyst,
Yeah,
the pay very high cost, cannot.
Yeah.
So, but if we do MC, legit reason your kid falls sick, I think that could remove at least the immediate pain.
Yeah.
And then it gets lesser because when they go primary school, they don't fall sick as much as they do during the childcare years.
Yeah. So there's a natural taper off of this thing.
Yeah,
right?
natural taper off. Then
Interesting.
if you don't even have to tag it to a number of childcare leave. It's now based on how often your kid falls sick.
You first heard it here from Budget Big on the
Yeah.
financial
If that
program.
gets
Interesting
instituted.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, raise it in parliament, please.
Yes. No, and I got a personal question, right? Like your colleagues from the other side of the aisle keep saying you'll never like raise policy, never give what do you call that? What
no
did they say?
idea.
Never give good ideas or something, right?
These are good idea, right?
Yeah.
Good.
So what do you have to say? Like for especially for a lot of Singaporeans, right, that are really very busy, very intense with work and family, right? Honestly, it's only a small handful of people that 300 people, 500 people that can watch live parliament discussion. Half of them probably journalists doing their job, right?
Yeah. Or they read the coverage only.
Yeah, right. So what do you have to tell Singaporeans? Like, what is so special about you guys? Why should we support you? Or
For starters, we definitely have contributed a lot of ideas. I think this is if anyone's interested, they're all online. These days, very easy to find. And I think that the more recent so-called example of that would be basically if you look at what we have put out in the last manifesto in 2020. Right? I mean, the minimum wage was something which I think the Workers' Party have been pushing for a long time. Minimum wage of $1,300, and then up until the very early part of this term of Parliament, 2020, 2021, that period, whenever we bring up the idea of minimum wage, it will get shot down. Oh, it's a bad idea, terrible, will cause people to lose their jobs. And then next thing there's this thing called the LQS, the local qualifying salary, which is in all forms is essentially something like a minimum wage for Singaporeans. So, if it's such a bad idea, then I don't think it would have been taken up by the government. So I think that's something which, I'm thankful that it's something which was implemented. So there are, of course, various ideas that have been put forth by myself and my fellow colleagues. Lowering the BTO age from 35 to 28, that's another one which I talked about recently. So it is with very earnest hope that I think good policies can come from everybody, even SG Budget Babe. So hopefully it's so
you must hold public forum for us, is it? Okay.
So I think it's really about what works best for Singaporeans lah.
Okay. So then in the realm of like parents and working parents are working very hard, very intense, right? What is a policy that you're championing?
The flexible one, I think that's really the
that's
number.
The main thing.
I think that really enables us to kind of work around a lot of things. So I also recognize that everybody's circumstances are different, and every company is different. Of course, if you are working in a security line versus somebody
cannot remote work.
Yeah, I mean, if
you can watch CCTV lah. I mean, there's something.
Don't say never. Maybe next time like Robocop,
you
work at home.
You walk in, right? Then got speaker. Hello? Why you walk in? What you doing here? Then the barricade come out. Right? Okay, yes, maybe.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, a lot of things can automate.
Yeah.
So even now school holidays, right? A lot of people want to go JB shopping. So last time it's manual counter. Now next time they want to have more automatic counter. So also can automate. But of course, putting all that aside, as long as there is that acceptance of flexibility and there is this culture, I think that's the most important thing to change.
Before we end off on this topic, I just wanted to ask you in your position. So we all know the Lee Kuan Yew policy, which is stop at 2. So inevitably, 2 became like the magic number for most families. You're already at 2 now. What do you think is a new, bearing in mind the working parent guild and everything that's going on, productivity and all of that, financial considerations also. What do you think is the new magic or comfortable number for Singaporean household, the average Singaporean household? Don't blame me. A lot of assumptions in this question, but what is the new maybe magic number? Yeah,
to begin with, how many people are even married? And of those who are even married, how many people even have kids at all? And of those who have kids, how many have 1, 2, 3 or more lah? So I think that there's a lot of things that we need to address. So firstly,
so we should ban dogs.
I have a dog too, by the way. Okay. So in the first place, of course, is to help people get hitched, and then help people want to believe in marriage and want to settle down and get married. And that is one of the big hurdle to cross, right? And once you get there, how to actually encourage people to have more children. So I think these are the bigger obstacles lah, rather than deciding 1, 2, 3 or 4 kids.
It's also very subjective lah. Every household different, right? I know some of my friends and cousins have 3. Then there's a PVMP with 5 kids, right?
Cool, right? They're contributing
I cannot imagine 5.
No, I got friends that are 7. So it's like
7.
Yeah. Of course, house is big, very empty. Rather than put chairs, I have kids.
I start to realize actually the norm now, last time have more better. Then it became like a handful. But now I see myself, my peers, people in the 30s, 40s, right? It seems like the norm has gone to just 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
they even have kids in the
If they
first
even
place,
have
Yeah,
kids,
if they
right?
have kids,
If
lah,
not, they will
yeah.
have like 2 golden retriever or something, right?
Yeah,
And that's their baby.
3 or 4 used to be fairly common. Now it's super rare.
That's why
Mm.
Like
TFR.
more, not super,
That's why
but super
TFR
rare.
one, no?
TFR is 1, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
that's
very
why,
good already.
that's
Got
why.
one
So it's
kid.
1, no?
Yeah,
it's
that's why the
very-
number keeps dropping.
Yeah,
Right? What
very-
is more comfortable? I don't know if we'll ever get out of. Can we push more or not?
Yeah. This one is a complex question. Okay,
Mm.
but I have one last one. Okay,
Wait, really last
yeah,
one?
because the whole idea is like this, building on this whole idea of guilt, right? Underneath it, right, means that somehow deep inside you feel like you're not a good parent.
Yeah.
That's where the guilt comes from, right? So I want to hear your views of like what is a good parent and how do you try, and how will you advise people to try to be that good parent in their view?
Oh, complex, your question.
Of course
It's very
lah.
complex.
It's
But I
like
have a
one of the
nice
best talk shows around.
I have a nice answer to it.
Yes.
Go and watch the Netflix show called The Good Bad Mother. It really changed my perspective because first you see it from the child's perspective. This mom is like a tiger mom, so fierce. Don't even let the kid eat finish everything because you too full, you feel sleepy, you cannot study. So all the things she did was define like, and he wrote, I have a bad mom. Why cannot go excursion, school picnic? Because I have a bad mom. He literally wrote that. That's what the drama is about. But then later on as an adult, then you see his perspective, he started to realize she had no choice but to be that because she needed to push him. And it was the circumstances that made her like that. And then he feels but in the end, right, I won't spoil the show. But in the end, it was really her, this fierce, rigid, strict parenting tactics, bad mom, like throwing your kid in the water, almost drown kind, that made him be able to get up and recover and get back up on his feet. So it really changed how I view good and bad. And we always talk about how, especially on this show, that there's no black and white. It's always very grey. I think that show really shows what is a good parent. Good is so subjective. Yeah, so for me, I don't have an answer. But in my own standards, I feel good is measured by what my kid thinks of me. So I saw one of my friends recently did this where she sat her kid down in front of the camera. So it was an Instagram reel thing. And she was asking, what would you like mommy to do to become a better mommy? Yeah, and I thought it was a very nice conversation to have. Maybe I won't record just in case my kid says something embarrassing.
No, you can record, just don't go live, right?
Just not
Approve,
live,
then go
lah.
out.
Yeah, right. But
So
like,
social
I think
media.
having that conversation with the kid and then trying to see if what they want is something that I can meet. Because I realize kids tend to perceive their parents. The kids, as much as we have expectations of ourselves and of our kids, they also have expectations of us.
Of course.
But in the older era, in the typical Asian culture, we don't have that level of conversation. My parents have never once asked me what they want me to have them as my parent do.
Yeah.
If they had asked, I would have said like, if you can support me more on this, don't scold me. And when I come home with an A, don't ask me why I'm not the first in class. Can you just celebrate my A? But cannot say, it's all hidden inside, right? Then you just only one day you just stop talking.
Yeah.
So I hope that in defining what is a good parent, I let my kid be able to tell me. Now he's still young, so very hard. But I want to balance that lah. So I have some ideals where I think I want to raise my kid and be able to take off like these values that I can impart to him. Not to be the smartest or whatever, but certain values I hope I can achieve this. But then at the same time, if this is not what he wants or what his character or what he thinks he needs, how can we strike a balance? I think that would be the best measure of what a good parent is.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
For
How do you
you.
measure?
I think in the end, I was thinking that actually, if you even have this mom or dad guilt, it just means that deep down you actually do care, and that if you are the bochap parent, then jialat already.
No guilt.
Yeah, no guilt, guiltless. So I mean that you're feeling this is actually a good thing, that you actually do care. But the challenge to me is that really recognizing that your kid, your family, everyone's circumstances is different. So you shouldn't compare with another person lah. Especially these days, I know social media is where we spend a lot of our time, and I think that to a certain extent also creates a lot of very artificial expectations that you set on yourself and your kids. As much as you want to be the best parent as you can ever be, or as much as you want your kid to be the best person that he or she can grow up to be, that we always say that you want to 望子成龙望女成凤, right?
So you're so cheesy. You're Mandarin educated, huh? Sad schoolboy. Okay. Later. Yes.
But it's kind of having that not say unrealistic, but to be able to know that at the end of the day, it is just that neutral relationship that you have with your kid. That's going to be the most important rather than what other people think or what other people have. So I think just need to be true to yourself.
You heard it from MP Louis Chua, right? So thank you for your time. Busy
Thank
schedule coming down
me.
the record with us. So yeah, I hope all of you will feel a little bit better. It's normal to feel guilty lah, right? It's a good signal that you actually care about something, and maybe you can do something about it, right?
Even
and,
MP feels the guilt, so we're all normal.
it's a normal one lah.
Don't
okay?
beat yourself.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you all. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.